Call of Duty is a video game series and media franchise published by Activision, starting in 2003. The games were first developed by Infinity Ward, then by Treyarch and Sledgehammer Games. Several spin-off and handheld games were made by other developers. The most recent title, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, was in 2023. The series originally focused on the World War II setting, with Infinity Ward developing Call of Duty 2 and Treyarch developing Call of Duty 3. Infinity Ward developed Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare in 2007, which introduced a modern setting, and proved to be the breakthrough title for the series, creating the Modern Warfare sub-series. Infinity Ward have also developed 2 games outside of the Modern Warfare sub-series, Ghost and Infinite Warfare. Treyarch made one last World War II based game, World at War, before releasing Black Ops and subsequently creating the Black Ops sub-series. Sledgehammer Games, who were co-developers for Modern Warfare 3, have also developed 3 titles, Advanced Warfare, Call of Duty World War II, and Vanguard. As of April 2021, Call of Duty has sold over 400 million copies. The series is verified by the Guinness World Records as the best-selling first-person shooter game series. It is also the most successful video game franchise created in the United States and the 4th best-selling video game franchise of all time.
Call of Duty: Finest Hour is the first console installment of Call of Duty. Although it is based on the original Call of Duty for Windows, it has a different storyline and acts as a side story expansion of the main game. It features 6 intertwined stories and battles based on real events from the perspective of soldiers on each side of the Allied campaign, US, British, and Soviet. The game had online multiplayer support, with up to 16 players per session. In the Soviet campaign, the player first controls Private Alexander Sokolov. Sokolov participates in the Battle of Stalingrad following Sergeant Oleg Puskov. The British campaign follows Edward Carlisle. Carlisle embarks on a night raid in Matmata with a commando team led by Sergeant Starkey to storm a German fortress and destroy a fuel depot. The American campaign follows Sergeant Chuck Walker. The first 3 missions concentrate on the capture of Aachen, with Chuck protecting the tank column along the way. After the capture of Aachen, the story shifts focus to M4 Sherman tank commander Sam Rivers, a young African-American who fends off Germans around the town of Tillet. By July 2006, the PlayStation 2 version of Finest Hour had sold 1.2 million copies and earned $45 million in the United States. Next Generation ranked it as the 41st highest selling game launched for the PlayStation 2, Xbox or GameCube between January 2000 and July 2006 in that country. Combined sales of Call of Duty console games reached 4 million units in the United States by July 2006. The PlayStation 2 version also received a Platinum Sales Award from the ELSPA, indicating sales of at least 300,000 copies in the United Kingdom. The game received mixed to positive reviews. IGN states that despite its portrayal of a good shooter, it is still stuck between realism and over-the-top antics. The graphics have been criticized as being very ordinary along with the effects being disappointing, and the sound was also found to be out of place in some areas of the game. Call of Duty 2, Big Red 1 is a side story expansion of the original Call of Duty 2, which was released the same year on PC and Xbox 360. Big Red 1 differs from other games in the Call of Duty franchise in that it focuses on a single Allied formation in World War II, the US Army's 1st Infantry Division, which goes by the nickname Big Red 1, due to their unit patch which features a large red number 1. The game covers the division's part in the North Africa campaign, the invasion of Sicily, the landing on Omaha Beach in Europe and moving east, and eventually crossing the Siegfried Line into Germany. Each chapter is bookended with period footage from the Military Channel, with voiceovers courtesy of Mark Hamill, who appeared in the Sam Fuller film The Big Red 1, imitating a World War II documentary. The game features several actors from the HBO miniseries Band of Brothers, including Michael Cudlitz, James Matteo, Frank John Hughes, Richard Speight Jr., Ross McCall, Rick Gomez, and Renee Morono. The box cover features actor Steven So. The story and characters were written by Aaron Ginsberg and Wade McIntyre. The game has a single-player story mode and a multiplayer mode. The player can crouch and lie prone, and is able to scale low walls and other obstacles. 2 firearms can be carried, which can be swapped with those left on the battlefield, and both fragmentation and smoke grenades can also be carried. A gun's iron sights can be used to aim more accurately. A compass on the HUD shows both allies and enemies, and objective markers to indicate locations the player must reach, areas to defend, or enemy cannons or tanks that the player must plant explosives on to disable. And place weapons such as machine guns and flak cannons are available in some locations to take out enemy forces. In addition, some missions place the player in control of a tank. It is also important for scouting, though most of the game takes place in personal close combat situations, reducing the importance of this tactic. In North America, the game was released as part of a compilation pack entitled Call of Duty Legacy for the PlayStation 2. The pack included Call of Duty Finest Hour and Big Red 1. A collector's edition was also released for the console. According to Metacritic, the game received generally favorable reviews from critics. It also received a Platinum Sales Award from the ELSPA, indicating sales of at least 300,000 copies in the United Kingdom. Call of Duty 3 is the third major installment in the series. It was a launch title for the PlayStation 3 only in North America, Europe, and Australia. The single player is modeled after the Normandy breakout, where the British, Canadian, Polish, American, and French resistance forces pushed into the French village of Chambois, also known as the Falaise Gap. Unlike most other games in the series, the events in Call of Duty 3 are based on a single combined campaign, with the player being switched between the 4 armed forces, US Army, British SAS, Canadian Army, and the Polish 1st Armored Division, and their respective characters for each leg of this story. There are 14 campaign missions in total, with cinematics to link between each one. Each mission also contains various action sequences where players have to input button commands, whether arming a bomb, or fighting off a melee ambush. In addition, some missions also include multiple choices and routes to completing an objective. Call of Duty 3 was unveiled by Activision shortly before E3 2006. It was revealed that Treyarch would be developing the title, their second in the series after Big Red 1, which was set to release later that year. The game will be running on Treyarch's own internal engine, NGL. It was the only major Call of Duty installment not to be released for PC platforms, though ports were planned yet cancelled, and the only numerical sequel to date to have been a console-exclusive game alongside Big Red 1 and Finest Hour. In an interview with Video Gamer, Call of Duty World at War senior producer, Noah Heller, revealed the team had 8 months to develop Call of Duty 3. The game won various awards from publications for Best Shooter and Sound Design. Institutes such as the Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences awarded the game for Outstanding Achievement in Sound Design in 2007. Call of Duty World at War, Final Fronts is the 2008 PlayStation 2 counterpart to PlayStation 3's Call of Duty World at War. It has its own set of missions involving the US fighting in the Pacific Theater and the Battle of the Bulge in Europe, as well as the British advancing on the Rhine River into Germany. The PS2 version features 13 missions. The game, set in World War II, focuses on single-player campaigns, as it has no multiplayer. The player can carry 2 guns at one time, as well as grenades. Levels are played with a team of soldiers from both Britain and the US, that assist the player by killing enemies and completing objectives. The game has 4 campaigns: War in the Pacific, Winter Offensive, Victory in Europe, and Victory in the Pacific. The player takes on the role of a Marine in the Pacific campaigns and both British and American soldiers in the European campaign. The War in the Pacific and Victory in the Pacific campaigns see Private Joe Miller, a reference to World at War protagonist C. Miller, and his fellow soldier Sergeant Roebuck and Private Polonsky, also in World at War, fight their way through Japanese defenses on Guadalcanal, Besho, Saipan, and Okinawa. The Winter Offensive and Victory in the Europe campaigns have three protagonists: Private Lucas Gibson of the U.S. 80th Infantry Division of George S. Patton's Third Army, Private Tom Sharp of the British 6th Airborne Division, and Gunnery Sergeant Alex McCall of the U.S. 4th Armored Division. The Winter Offensive campaign sees the Americans and British move to relieve the city of Bastogne, while the 80th take Adelbrecht and Luxembourg, and the Victory in Europe campaign sees the British 6th Airborne Division capture the town of Weser during Operation Varsity, and the Americans capture Adolf Hitler's birthplace of Braunau-Emmen in Austria. World at War Final Fronts received mostly negative reviews from critics. It has been criticized by some reviewers for poor artificial intelligence, which is evident when friendly soldiers push the player out of cover and into the enemy line of fire.